All right, let's get going. It's time for the first module. The purpose of this brief video is to introduce a few key terms in Greek that will be useful for you throughout the term, but certainly during this first module, and also to kind of talk about the purpose of this book. Edith Hall's introducing the ancient Greeks from Bronze Age seafarers to navigators of the Western mind. Um, uh, this will be the major book that we use for the first module, and I want to give you a little bit of an insight into how it's organized and why I want you to read it. First off, uh, one of the things I asked you to do in the introductory module is to get kind of an acquaintance with the Greek alphabet. Not because you're learning Greek necessarily, but it's unavoidable that you're going to meet Greek words along the way, and it's helpful to understand what they meant to them. And because language is a key organizing factor in how our world works. So at this point, you might want to pause the video and download or print off the worksheet for week 1. It should say week 1 worksheet, Edith Hall on YouTube. Okay, so I assume you've done that. And now I'd like to go through those terms that you see entitled Key Terms in Greek, very top of the page. The first words are theos and theia. These words mean God, theos, and goddess, theia. And it's kind of interesting. We live in a world, and I'm asking you to imagine that you're in ancient Greek, where you never doubt that there are gods at any point. You never doubt that there is such a thing as divinity. You also don't doubt that there are plurality of gods that inhabit the universe. And unlike what might be familiar to many who believe in some sort of a god, unlike that notion where one god might be seen as doing everything and primarily, good or benevolent or beneficent. In the ancient world, there were multiple gods. They divided up the work according to various kinds of responsibilities, and they were capable of both good and not good. And in that sense, their gods represented life as they understood it, as containing good and not good, and that the gods did it quite intentionally. And for them, gods were not better than us in the sense of morally. They were just better physically and in terms of capacity, and in terms of lifespan. They were immortal. Another word I'd like to introduce is anthropos. Anthropos is the word for a human being, not a man or a woman, but just a person, a human. And interestingly, not interestingly, this is the key part of the binary of the opposite of a god is a human, an anthropos. And in addition to the fact that we die, and gods do not, in almost every other respect, gods are made in the image. Humans, anthropoi, humans are made in the image of gods. Heros, it's our word hero, comes from heros. Heros in ancient Greek means half god, half human. Eleutheros and doulos, the next two terms, those refer to specific and to the ancient world natural denominations, designations of human beings as being free, eleutheros, that means not enslaved, as opposed to doulos, which means to be enslaved. This is a world where slavery is natural. And slavery, while it was a bit more of a temporary state than, for example, American Southern chattel slavery of the 19th century, but it was awful, and there was nothing redeeming about it or funny. And this is part of the inheritance of the West, is inheriting that sort of a distinction. Aner, Gune, Paidion, Zoon. Aner is the word for man, and Gune is the word for woman. And in the ancient world, they really only acknowledged two genders. We'll be talking a bit about some of their understanding of sexuality, but um, and but these two words coincidentally also come to mean husband and wife, man and woman, Aner and Gune. Paidion is their word for a child. The Greek language is gendered. The word for man is masculine, the word for woman is feminine, but the word for child, paidion, is neuter. It's neither masculine nor feminine. Zdoon, or zoon, this is any creature endowed with life, and they saw human beings as animals, but they also saw them as superior to the other animals. Dike means justice, and this is refers broadly not only to the set of obligations and duties that humans owe to gods in understanding their position in the great hierarchy of life, but also to justice as it relates to right and wrong, or in law courts. Hellene, barbaros. Hellene is the Greek word for a Greek person. They didn't use the word Greek. That's actually a Roman term. The Greeks called themselves Hellenes, and they called ancient Greece Hellas. So Hellene is their basically word for self-identification. And all other people who were not Hellenes, were barbaroi. So the second word is barbaros. Barbaros means barbarian. So, and they thought barbarians were anybody whose language sounded like bar. Oikumene, polis, xenia. Oikumene means the inhabited universe, as opposed to wild, undomesticated, uncivilized world. Oikumene meant the civilized world. Polis. Polis means city or state, but it means what city basically, but state in the sense of like a government, an independent political entity. The polis is the unit of analysis in classical antiquity, more so than any individual concept, the individual human being. The concept of citizen precedes the concept of individual. You're only ever an individual person within the context of a city to which you belong as a citizen. So the city comes first and foremost, and it is the dominant structure in the ancient world. Xenia. Xenia is a virtue in ancient Greece that describes the idea of hospitality. And by hospitality, I mean, quite simply, when you are confronted with a stranger, you treat them with respect and kindness, and not, for example, kill them immediately upon arrival. In a world where there isn't television or phones or internet or that kind of communication so you could be aware of others, people would necessarily arrive at other strange cities in ships or by foot. And xenia, or hospitality, is the thing that means that people wait and hear your story and figure out who you are before they treat you as an enemy. And this is the essential piece of all civilization. Basileus, Wanox, Turanos, Deimos. Basileus is one of the words for king, a hereditary king. A Wanox is kind of a king, but more like a leader within an aristocracy, like a system of wealthy, rich families that generation after generation kind of control things. A Wanox is the chief of that, of that tribe. But both words could be treated as king, a hereditary king. A Turanos, however, is somebody who becomes effectively a king, but not through constitutional means. So a Turanos' father was not a king, and he did not inherit that kingship. He probably got it some other way, like maybe the preceding king died without having any heirs, or he may have conquered the city and taken over. So, Turanos, a tyrant, is not necessarily an evil thing in the ancient world. It's just the way you became king. Deimos. Deimos refers to the people who make up a city. In a democracy, which is ruled by the people, they are sovereign. Their votes for leaders, and their role in the assemblies effectively means that the power of the city lies with them. Monarchia and Turania, oligarchia, demokratia. These four words, refer to the systems of government that are monarchy, monarchia, and tyrannia. That you can kind of guess how those differ. A monarchy is a hereditary monarchy. Tyrannia is a non-hereditary monarchy. Oligarchia is ruled by wealthy families, and democratia is ruled by the demos. Okay, so the purpose of this video was just to give you a quick overview of of some key terms that will help you stay organized and kind of understand the way the Greeks put their world together.